I tell you what, I
Look over this way.
you know, I celebrate Dr. Graham's life. I met him, I think, back during the movement days. And actually, I met him with Martin Luther King in 1965 at the European Baptist Convention. And their exchange, I think, put both of their lives in perspective. Dr. Graham came up to Martin and said, "Dr. King, I want to congratulate you on your courageous prophetic ministry." And Martin said, "Well, Dr. Graham, it probably would not have been successful had it not been for your prophetic, pastoral, and priestly ministry." And what they both realized was that they were both following Jesus, each in the way that was appropriate to their ministry. And I later, when I got into Congress, became active with the White House prayer breakfast, and had a number of occasions when I was asked to speak or to pray. And whenever I saw him, we always had a very warm and well, encouraging greeting. He also came here when we were looking for the Olympics, and along with Tom Cousins and the clergy, black and white, we had one of his crusades that started our bid for the Olympics, and well, our prayers 2-3 years out got us off on the right foot, because with the Olympics in Atlanta, we had 1,000 churches working with us, praying with us, taking care of the athletes from other countries. And I think the crusade that we started with helped pull the city together in a way that I think made victory possible, not only for us with the Olympics, but I just think everything we've done in this city in my watch has been my ministry, and I was glad to have it blessed by both Dr. Graham and Dr. King.
Early on with his crusades, he made a decision that he was not going to hold a crusade if the hosts insisted on it being segregated.
Well,
was he a pioneer in that respect, or what did that mean to you and to others who were battling on different fronts?
well, it meant that he was affirming our conviction, and that he shared our conviction that God made of one blood all of the nations of the earth, and that Jesus Christ died that all of us sinners might be saved. And there's nothing that specifies color in my Bible or his. But it was all, I tell you, he was such a father figure to the nation. He also had a very strong global ministry, which I admire. He met, I met his assistant last year, and I said, "Do you still stay in touch with North Korea?" And see, he saw North Korea as difficult, but he saw them also as Presbyterians. The founder of the North Korean government was a graduate of a Presbyterian missionary college in Seoul. And he always, in fact, I think he encouraged President Carter to visit, but then the State Department kind of stepped in and almost didn't, they kind of discouraged any kind of movement toward peace that they didn't control.
Minister to minister, how did you and Dr. King perhaps counsel him, and how did he counsel you?
Well, I think that we both understood that God had differing ministries for each of us. And he never tried to tell us what to do or what not to do. And we never did anything but cooperate with him when our paths crossed.
What is his legacy? What is he boiled down to the core of a message that he I guess brought around the world, but what is his legacy then for this country and for this world?
His legacy is that he said over and over and over and over again, thousands of times, that Jesus Christ died for the sins of all mankind, and that if we would accept his sacrifice in our behalf, that we could all be saved. That God is a loving, forgiving Father, as revealed in the ministry and life of Jesus of Nazareth. He was a loving and forgiving and accepting Father, as was Dr. King. I never heard Dr. King condemn anybody for their racial views. You know, even though we were in many conflicts, we were in the same room saying completely different things. But their approach was always, I think, a Christian approach.
What would then summarize his impact on this country? He got in some scrapes himself from time to time with maybe controversial things he said that got a lot of attention, and maybe the counsel he gave to Richard Nixon and other kind of controversies he saw over the years.
But I think President Trump needs a Billy Graham now. And actually, I was surprised to find that Dr. King's niece is meeting with and praying with our present president on occasion. And so it's important for us to be one nation, indivisible, under God, with liberty and justice for all. And we tend to forget that, focusing on our differences. But in spite of our differences, we are probably a stronger nation because of our differences.
Is this a personal loss for you? How do you react personally?
Well, no, I don't believe that death is an end. And I've been saying this over and over again now, that Martin Luther King has been gone from us physically for 50 years. But there's hardly been a day when I don't see his inspiration moving in the hearts of people who are still being inspired by his teaching and his preaching. And I think the same is true of Billy Graham. We have not heard from him for maybe 8 or 10 years, but we still have been close, and we still remember his word, because it's a word that the Holy Spirit continues to speak to all of us.